Good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here. I want to thank again Benzinga's people that put in this together. This is the third time I attend a Benzinga conference, and it's growing every year and gathering people that are really relevant to the industry, relevant as an investors. So I hope you are having a great time in listening to all the companies that are trying to do something in the space. VerdeMed is, it's working. So we are a company that you need to be here. Not easy to do that. Okay. So I can't go close to the charts and do the thing. I have to talk from here. What is VerdeMed? Is a company focused at doing business in Latin America. That's the only problem we're trying to solve, is how we make medical cannabis or pharmaceutical cannabinoids products, and later on, when it's illegal, edibles or adult recreational, how can we bring these products to Latin America? We are a very new company. It's like less than 1 year that we've been operating. And we just announced yesterday our first round of funding, $12 million that we raised from qualified investors in Latin America. So I would like you to bear with me a little bit, because as we all know and we always heard, startups is all about the team, and so my team's coming first, and then we talk about the business and the other stuff that we are doing, okay? So the introduction is to tell you what we are, what we have today, then who are the people that are doing this, who is leading the company, who is building the business, and what is the business opportunity in the end. Some of you may or may not have attended the Latin panel yesterday, but Latin America is becoming, it will never be the size of US or Europe, but it certainly be somewhere to be in the next 3 to 5 years. Then we're going to talk about our business strategy, and finally, how we see our company 5 years from now. So now, today, as of today, we own first our headquarters is in Toronto. Actually, we have a small office here. It's just me and Fabiana Lapa from the Regulatory Affairs, and all the rest of the team is in Latin America. Cali, we have a pharmaceutical executive that's leading the clinical trials. In São Paulo State in Brazil, we acquired a pharmaceutical import license company, so we can bring right away any pharmaceuticals or even some kind of CBD products to Brazil. And we have, I inverted, and in Cali, sorry, I should have said, Cali, we have a full LP, so then we are an end-to-end. We grow the plant, we extract, we manufacture the oil. So it's a fully integrated IP. It's a small operation, it's 3,000 square foot, and it's basically aimed at proving that we are capable of doing that. And if and when we can expand, we will. But as we all know, there are lots of playing around big companies, and we have a smaller project than compare when Canopy, Aurora, or as we saw yesterday. This has been accomplished. I think that if you want to know, okay, what is this VerdeMed about? It's about light speed execution. This strategy has been thought since I first touched cannabis in late 2016. I was still working for a pharmaceutical company out of Canada, ACIC, and for me it was clear this was becoming part of the business would be an API business. At least the pharmaceutical side, the medical side, people will prefer to take, in our vision, will prefer to take pills instead of smoking for treat their illness. So if we are able to provide the right medicine as a pharmaceutical product, that's how we began. And after that plan, we started basically, we are not innovators. We do not intend to innovate in product development, in manufacturing development, in extraction. We're going to use the technology, whatever is the best technology available in US, Canada, and we're going to deploy. Our mission is a deployment mission, and we have to do it precisely so we can get a footprint in all the region. Later on, we can think about bigger innovations and what can we do. So basically here, I think what I want to highlight is just that we managed to raise funds from city investors, and as I said yesterday, the 12 million, and everything happened almost almost 1 year since by the end of this quarter. As I told you, the team, I'm not going to stay long. You can go to our website. We have the full description of every professional, every person that's involved in the company. I feel very fortunate that we managed to gather a board of directors with 2 independent directors, one North American, one Canadian, both with experience in cannabis. Valnei Canucci is from Brazil. He is an MD that leads Pint Pharma. So here comes our expertise in pharmaceutical. And Johanna is a biologist, and she leads the business in Colombia. As I told you, here in Toronto, it's just me and Fabiana, the regulatory affairs. Dr. Margarido is just advising us on the clinical trials. The core of the team is Brazil. Brazil is like 220 million people out of the 650 million Latin Americans. Brazil is 220, and it's certainly half of the market. So you cannot say that you are in Latin America if you haven't done Brazil. You can say that you're in Chile, Colombia, I'm great in Mexico. That's not Latin America. You have to be in all those places, and you must put a flag, and you must be in Brazil for real. So all our core competences are being built and transferred from Brazil to the other countries. So there we have our CEO, our managing director for the region. We have the head of our VerdeMed care unit, which is basically selling CBD one-to-one, CBD and THC products one-to-one according to the regulatory affairs. Our MD, another regulatory, another doctor, lawyer. So basically that's the core management team. And yes, we have people in the other 2 countries we are currently playing. So actually in Colombia, in Cali, it's like 12 people. In the end, the leadership team is this. And in Santiago, it's just Carlos Icoña, who is basically leading the clinical trials. Finally, one can never build a company by himself, so I'm really thankful for all these people that have been with me, many of them since August last year, July. But also we counted with lots of help, so I just want to name them. These are all on our website, our legal affairs in Colombia, legal affairs in Canada. TIPIT, Toronto Institute of Pharmaceutical, we have a very strong relationship. Our pharmaceutical products are being developed here out of Toronto with cannabis produced and manufactured in Canada under EU GMP, US FDA quality. Then this will be exported to Latin America, and we trust our partners to do this. So what is, this team, and you have this lab, and you are Colombia. And what about that? Well, the estimate is that the markets in Latin America will be from $15 to $20 billion. These all consider recreational cannabis, which does not exist. So all these estimates are based on models that it will be big and assumptions that we don't know exactly. And the truth is that you're basically estimating a consumption that's not as well measured as we all have in Canada or US. Certainly, if the US market achieves like $100 billion, Latin America is like 10% of US. Canada is going to be $2 billion. Latin America, on average, for any economic industry related like this one. So the size looks okay. This has been said by 2 different sources. New Frontier just released a report. They also estimate around 15 billion. And the main countries, as you see, Brazil, Mexico, Chile, Argentina, and Colombia. And that's exactly where we plan to have our footprint. But it's not, we're not alone, sorry. I forgot to say I came from Canopy Growth. So I worked with them, and I learned a lot about everything I know. Actually, I learned there, working for them in UK. And as you can see, there's a lot of competition. So the Canadians, especially all the large RPs, they moved massively into Latin America, basically Colombia, acquiring assets, because it's going to be definitely a low-cost place to produce. And you have like companies like Aurora that acquired, these are very old slides, please forgive me, it's like 1 year old. So for instance, Aurora acquired ICC Labs, and it's already present in all the countries. Entourage is no longer partnered with Canopy. Canopy now has Canopy Latam. So a little bit of consolidation has begun, but not as we have seen in Canada, and not as we are going to see in US. But the takeaway from this slide is, don't trust us that there is a huge opportunity. Look at the players that are doing this now and why they're taking this preemptive move and why we, VerdeMed, believe we can do as good as them, not as with the same amount of money, but certainly with the skill set required to succeed in Latin America. So, any questions up to here? Half of the presentation? No? Okay. So, what is the strategy and how to capture what are you going to sell, how to do business in this space? One thing important to understand, if again our panel from Latin America yesterday was very clear, I like to say that Latin America is a pulp fiction. It doesn't exist. There is no Mexico, Brazil, Chile, Argentina alliance. There's no economic. This is like the US states without the federation. So each country has a different set of rules. Each country has a different culture. Like why, 2 slides back, why Chile was the third market. It's only 11 million people in Chile compared to 50 in Argentina because they use a lot of cannabis already. So what's happening in Latin America is first a lot of uncertainty. You can't say for a fact that Mexico will do this, Brazil will do that. Chile certainly will allow cheats. That's not true. Secondly, it's uneven. So if a foreigner, if all these companies, they arrive, they say, okay, this is the strategy for Latin America, then it's immediately moment. Oops, it doesn't work in Chile, well, rebuild it. Argentina, well, it doesn't work. So it's uneven and it's unsynced. There's no way anybody can come here and tell you, in 5 years' time, there will be medical cannabis in all Latin America and there will be adult markets as well. Nobody can say that for a fact. What is possible to do is develop a strategy to address this challenge. So the only thing that is true right now in terms of regulatory framework is the pharmaceutical. If you have a pharmaceutical formulation, so like Epidiolex and Sativex, you may register under any country in Latin America. Sativex, no. Sativex is THC content, so they did not manage to register in Argentina or Peru, but they managed to register it in Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, and Chile. The CBD-based pharmaceuticals you could register as long as you have the trials, just like Epidiolex, you would be able to register. So there is no regulatory doubt. No, it's the Novartis rule. It's how it works for the North American companies and the global companies, and it's not going to change. So solving this puzzle is part of our mission. Our mission is within 3 to 5 years is have done this. We will have a physical presence with sales and business activities in all these countries, according to what is possible to do. So here's just an illustration of this pulp fiction. You have countries like Uruguay, 3.5 million, that everything's legal, but you can't export. There is nowhere buying it, and people don't use that much cannabis either. From Peru, where it's only CBD-based, Peru and Argentina. You can't cultivate, like Brazil, you can't cultivate. There is no cultivation in Mexico either. Someone had to explain, actually, the cartels, how that's going to be moved from the illegal to the legal market. So it's not a simple challenge to say that you're going to do cannabis in Latam, okay? What we intend to do is just match each product with each region, each geography, and we do what is legal and possible. So if we can do now a fully integrated LP, sell oil, sell flowers in Colombia, great, we do it. We can export the oil, great. We can't do that in Brazil. We can't do that in Chile. In Argentina, to get into the business, you get to have an agreement with the government of Argentina. We'll do it, but we'll do it the right way to do it. So in 3 to 5 years' time, we do have a real business that's running in each country in a sustainable mode and not on aspirational mode. How to begin? So this is how we thought of, okay, we have this opportunity, we should have all the categories, all the products, from flowers to edibles, but it's very hard to do everything at one time. So we're doing what is absolutely legal to do, like in Brazil, is a one-to-one sales to patients, but there is a regulatory process to go through, to Chile, where we can import CBD as nutraceuticals and we can sell it. So the first step is to get in contact with doctors and patients through a platform that we are building. It will be the same platform, just adapted for all of the 6 countries, initially medicinal and pharmaceuticals. The end game is having, a CBD pharmaceutical and nutraceutical in all the countries, THC in Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and Mexico. Clinical trials led by Chile because it's the fast track, it's the cheaper, and the regulatory works for the same region. And Colombia, for now, is the only place we plan to grow. Obviously, if the law changes in Brazil, we will be the first to say, well, let's do it. Where do we plan to go from here? So this is how we began. We are a young company. It's like less than 1 year. We managed to get an amazing management team, but beyond myself, they're really great executives, everybody specialists in their area, and where we are going to be 3 years from now. So we believe that we have to start with capturing, this is a framework. Apologies, I'm an ex-consultant, it's my McKinsey previous incarnation, and this is a framework from the McKinsey where basically whatever you want to do in 5 years' time, you must plant it today. You have to develop the seeds of it. And now it's always the time of reap whatever you can sell and make a profit. So now we are going to sell the oils we're going to extract in Colombia and CBD to all legal jurisdictions that are all cash positive business. Colombia next year is going to be full sustainable, and the operation of the CBD is a commercial operation. It's sustainable also from the beginning. Meanwhile, we're growing. We're growing our patient relationship. We're deploying our brand, which can be leveraged later on when we can expand VerdeMed Care to all Latin America. And at the same time, you must reap the benefits. You must grow stuff that's certainly not going to make money, and you need to think about the future. So in the future, we are doing the product development here in Canada of our pharmaceutical formulations, one CBD oil very close to Epidiolex formulation, one CBD THC, that's an Abiximol, very different from Sativex, but it's basically based on the same molecule. And we have an insomnia pill that's proprietary formulation, but it's THC CBD like everything else. There is no patent that applies to any cannabinoids. All the cannabinoids are gone. Nobody's going to make a blockbuster of any cannabinoid-based medicine. And in terms of my pitch, we just raised the 12 million. I want to thank our investors, thank our board members that are here. Now it's time to execute. So for the next 3 to 4 months, we shall dive into delivering it. Next semester, the last quarter, there are sales targets that we must achieve so we can show investors that we are performing. We need to raise between $20 to $25 million in this year and next year to fund clinical trials, to increase the teams. If we expand to Mexico, then we need to have a team, we need specialists. If we go to Argentina, so the money is going to be used basically to expand in all the other countries and complete the trials. So Colombia should be running at 10 million revenue. We have commercial sales of CBD and THC. The Me Too drugs like Epidiolex and Sativex, semi-generics should be registered. And then we see our liquidity strategy. We see the room of doing it in Canada through the CSE. And right now we are about to think on how to do this sometime next year. So not necessarily an IPO, but listing and getting visibility and having all the management system in place of a public company. Because what we have seen, and in the future, is that, okay, we need the liquidity strategy. It's great. It may allow us to have like a checking book to acquire other companies, like we have seen people consolidating. But we are also counting that if we manage to be successful when we build this platform in Latin America, once the US market is done, so I mean like, I don't know, 3 to 5 years from now, when the consolidation begins in US, people will stop and say, okay, then what next? The Canadians have already made their move in Latin America, and eventually they will need a partner of choice, they will need a company to do business in the region. In terms of valuation, what is potential, what is seen, basically Canopy bought 50% of Canopy Latam for $200 million. That's a public deal last July. And Aurora acquired ICC Labs for $290. So that's the range. And as we all know, valuations these days are very going up and down.
Jose?
That's it.
We have time for 2 questions.
Thank you all first. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. No questions? Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, great.
That was
thank
an
you.
excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So